Okay, we are back, and we are actually going to move into what I want to call interpersonal deception theory. We just finished talking about what deception was. If you're just tuning in, this is Professor Barry Brennan. I'm talking to my interpersonal communication class where our topic is the dark side of relationships. Let's continue our discussion. All right, so we talked about how do we know when deception, how we define deception. Now we're going to look at interpersonal deception theory. So, interpersonal deception theory it seeks to explain the strategic choices people make when engaging in deceptive communication. So there's a couple words here. Seeks to explain means it helps us to understand why people or what kind of strategic choices people make when they want to deceive another person. Okay. For one of the things, there's three components here, and then we're going to talk about how when you're attempting to deceive, according to this theory, that people kind of create messages verbally and non-verbally. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But this looks at the components of this particular theory. So falsification is one component of it. It's like falsification means you're telling a lie outright. Like you are purposely deceiving that person. Okay, so there's that. That's part of the theory. The other part of the theory is concealment. Concealment means when you're intentionally trying to mislead someone from coming to a truthful conclusion. Now, how do you do that? All kinds of different ways, right? You can leave stuff out, right? Leave details out. You maybe avoid some details. There's different ways that you might, but you're purposely, intentionally trying to mislead them. Concealment. To conceal means to hide. Okay? Equivocation. You've heard that word equivocate. They're equivocating. It means they're being vague. Okay? When we equivocate, we're being vague. And in this theory, we're intentionally being vague. Okay? What does that mean when you're intentionally trying to be vague? It means you are strategically trying to avoid something. You're strategically being vague, being very maybe ambiguous. Okay, there's another great word for you to have. Ambiguous, not being kind of like kind of telling story, not telling details, not being specific. That's how we are vague about things. Okay, so falsification, telling it outright, telling a lie, completely telling a lie, something that's not the truth. Concealment, trying to hide something. Okay, finding ways to hide things. Equivocation, being vague, so no one can make it murky, right? So it's like you can't really see what's going on when things are murky. You're not sure what the hell is going on. Okay, here we go. So deceivers also manipulate their verbal and nonverbal behavior, and they do this through messaging. Okay, this is also the basis of this theory. So this theory says deceivers have a way of manipulating their verbal and nonverbal behavior. Okay, well, what do I mean by that? So how do they do that with message? So completeness. They're not fully complete in their message. They leave out details, right? Leaving out important details. Relevance and directness. What does that mean? Well, when we're direct, when we're straightforward, when someone is straightforward and tells it just like if you ask something, you get an answer, you're more likely to believe them. If someone's trying to deceive you, they're not being straightforward. They're being indirect. They might give things that aren't even relevant to what you're talking about. That's how you can tell someone's trying to deceive you in the message that they're giving. Clarity. Clarity means something that doesn't make sense, right? You're going, huh? Like where you have that kind of, what does that mean? Or that doesn't even make any sense. Or they're leaving out like details or doesn't make sense at all. Personalization. When someone does something to the message or in their behavior and they're not really They don't own that information. They kind of talked about it in a way that's really indirect or really far away from them. That's another way that you can discern. Okay, when someone's trying to deceive, they're very like it didn't happen to them, or it's not part of them, or not part of their experience. Okay, not taking ownership of something. And verticality, this is a great word. So verticality refers to verbal and nonverbal behavior. And verticality is like the verbal behavior is where we find the truth, and the nonverbal behavior has to do with believability. Okay, I want you to think about, we've talked about this in nonverbal communication. Why are we more likely to believe what someone does than what someone says? Because we can't really lie. Our nonverbal behavior, because we are emotional animals, we're emotional beings, but we're really emotional animals. Our nonverbal behavior is our tells. Right? We can say that we're happy, but if we look sad, if our face looks sad, so our eyes are downcast, and we're saying we're happy, you can tell we're not. The nonverbal part doesn't lie. So the verticality means those things have to match. Right? Paying attention to one or the other. When they don't match, that's how you know someone's trying to deceive you. So let's go back over these really quick. Completeness, not giving all the details. Relevance, directness. Could also mean relevance, directness, when you're not being direct, but you're being indirect, could also mean going out off on a tangent, right? When someone goes off on a tangent about something, you're like, what are they doing? What are they talking about? Lack of clarity, not being clear, something that doesn't make sense. Personalization, not taking ownership of that information. And verticality, having their words and their actions match, right? They have to match. Okay, so that's what this theory seeks to explain, that uses these things. They're like variables, right? If they're going to analyze someone, they're going to use these variables to analyze someone's message and behavior. All right, cool. So why do we lie in the first place? What is it? What does the research tell us of why we lie? Well, we lying to harm others. Sometimes we do lie, right? Sometimes we lie purposely to harm someone, right? We could lie about ourselves, lie about something. Lying to protect ourselves. We lie to protect ourselves. And sometimes we lie to spare others. Think about in your life, all of us by now have told a lie at some point. And if you haven't, you're probably a saint. And I say that kind of jokingly, or you're not being honest with yourself. But I think that at some point in our lives, we've at least told one lie by now. Okay? What kind of lie did you tell? What was it about? What was your motivation behind it? Did you lie because you were trying to spare others? I mean, when someone says, and we talk about this in terms of different types of lies, but someone says, how do I look in this dress? I mean, this is an old example that's used over and over and over again. The wife says to the husband, how do I look in this dress? And he knows that if he tells her the truth, if she does look not attractive in the dress, it will hurt her feelings. So rather than do that and hurt her feelings, he's going to say, you look great. Now, girlfriends, they want to know the truth, right? If you're with your girlfriends and you're trying on an outfit, you want to know the truth. You don't want them to lie to you. So it's interesting of why those are lies. They're not necessarily lies that are going to hurt anyone, right? But they're lies that we've done. Those are kind of like lies that don't have, not going to change the relationship, right? Not going to hurt the relationship in the long term. But lies about fidelity. If you have an agreement with your partner and you are in a mature adult sexual relationship with a person, and you have an agreement that you're monogamous, and your partner decides not to be monogamous and then lies about it, and you find out And you have to know that they're lying, right? You have to find evidence. We're going to talk about that, how we detect someone's lying, in a minute. But so did that person purposely deceive that person to harm that person? Sometimes people deceive in order to get someone's attention, to harm them, to get back at them, right? Well, there's so many pieces to this. But again, let's come back to this is human behavior. It's not helpful. It's not going to help the relationship, but we do it because we're human beings. And we are full of flaws. It's part of our makeup. It's part of our learning process. Okay, moving on. Are there good reasons to lie? Well, you could lie to preserve your relationship, right? You could decide to lie. Maybe you had a one-night stand with someone and you're still in love with your partner and there's no reason you want to leave them. You're never going to tell them. In fact, I have this deal with my partner that I say, if that ever happens, and if it's a one-night thing, then that's on you. I don't ever want to know. It'll just make me trust you less, and it will end up ruining the relationship because it'll be like a seed that was sown of deception that will hurt me, and I'll probably never get over it. But if you keep it to yourself and decide that's the burden you're going to take to your grave, and then that's on you, better for me. You have to think about if telling someone is going to hurt them or not. And you have to know what they want. Sometimes people want to know no matter what, and then they'll just let it go. I don't think I'm a person that could do that. So you have to kind of know who you are as a person. To avoid hurting the other person's feelings, we just talked about that. To avoid a conflict, right? People lie to avoid conflict. I just gave you that example of the husband says, the wife says, how do I look in this dress? And he says, you look great. And maybe she doesn't really look that great. That's probably not a good dress for her. Then he doesn't want to have a conflict. He just want to hurt her and like her to say, why do you say that to me? Or whatever he perceives there might be a conflict. Okay. And then finally, other good reasons to lie, to protect a third party. So this is actually a picture of a dad and his kids. So think about how many of you were lied to about Santa Claus, right? You're saying to me, Ms. Brendan, what are you telling me? Santa Claus isn't the truth? Maybe Santa Claus is the truth. Who knows? I haven't experienced that yet, but who am I to say? Anyway, the point is, the things that we've been told as children, they're lies, but they're good lies, right? They're fantasy and things that we get to believe in, and they make us happy. So sometimes we do lie, right, to protect a third party, right? We lie. Let's say we have an affair, and we don't tell on that person because we don't want to hurt that third party involved. Okay, so there are good reasons why we lie. We're going to stop there, and we're going to pick up how to detect deception. That will be our last video. Okay, I'll see you soon. Are we having fun yet? This is fun. Good, cool.